Welcome back, Wagoneers, to another top 5 in no particular order. Today we're doing top NBA players, right?
Of all time.
All time.
Favorite NBA players of all time.
So we're not just sticking to modern day players. We're going to be going back in time as well. You can include modern day players.
Favorite players that wore the shorty shorts that cut off at the top of the quad.
If Bob Cousy is your favorite player, by damn it, put him on the list.
A little bit of nutsack hanging out.
Okay.
Jerry West, who's on the actual logo. But yeah, I guess I'll go first. There's a lot of players that I could have put on the list that I'm like, I like that guy, but I didn't have it. Like, I put people on the list that I don't know, for some reason that I like, stood out to me more, that I watched a lot, played with them on video games a lot, things like that. Honestly, the only, I guess this is honorable mentions, only modern day player that I was like, I hate not hate, but so many modern day players, and I'm just like, But was the last Lakers run when they had Kobe and no Shaq, and I really liked Pau Gasol. I just remember rooting for him, especially when they beat the Celtics and kind of got their revenge on the Celtics. And I don't know why. I guess he was just like not that flashy of a player, he's a big guy, whatever.
Just on a side note, so when Heather was in college at Christian Brothers, which is in Memphis, Tennessee, Pau Gasol was playing for the Grizzlies at the time. And she said that he was known for combing the campus of the University of Memphis and crushing pussy.
It wasn't his brother Marc Gasol?
Might have been Bogo.
Because Marc Gasol played for the Grizzlies.
But I think Pau was a little bit better looking than Marc. So
I remember
I know Marc
thinking about getting a Pau Gasol jersey, even though I wasn't, big on basketball jersey.
Did he get a consent form though?
rules don't apply.
I mean, his name is Pau,
Pow, 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 pow. Like Kobayashi.
Like he powed that puss.
Yeah, he was crushing some puss. But anyway, moving on.
Spent a lot of time on that first honorable mention.
What? We're going to be here for a while.
There was some other
Grab a Snickers.
some other contributions.
We'll be here fucking midnight.
There was
Spring forward.
There was some other contributions, but anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to call this number 5 because both of them could be. I don't know whether to put one honorable mention, one top 5, but I'm going to go with Sean Kemp as 1, and the other is David Robinson. Because I like both of them as big men, power forwards.
So are they interchangeable? Where last honorable mention? 5?
I couldn't pick which one belonged in the top 5 or honorable mention. I liked them both kind of equally. I remember really liking when David Robinson finally won a championship, and Sean Kemp, I was like that one finals when the Sonics were against the Bulls. I almost felt like I was rooting for the Sonics over the Bulls.
Definitely.
Even though I like the Bulls.
I wanted the Rain Man to get his fucking ring.
Because then going into no particular order, right? Number 4, I'm going to have to put Jordan. And that probably encompasses all the Bulls, Pippen and Luke Longley and Jay Armstrong and Ron.
It encompasses all the 96 Bulls. Just number 1, the 96 Bulls.
One of my fantasy teams was 95-96 Chicago Bulls, I've used that team name multiple times in other leagues, too. So, the whole Jordan era in Chicago. Hey, top 5 teams. All right. But no, I remember liking even Jordan when he had the freaking number 45 when he came back. I think I still have a card floating around of him in that. But yeah, had to like Michael Jordan just of everything he did, Space Jam, whatever, But all right, getting into some real picks, I guess my top 3. Actually, a throwback, not a modern day player. I have to say, this guy, because I was compared to him when I was playing basketball, and people called me this, and I wasn't exactly sure because I was a kid in the '90s and I didn't have the internet to Google who the hell are they talking about, but it was Kareem.
What?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem?
I thought
they called you Kareem?
I thought it was Big Country Brian Reed.
Boom. Roasted.
Who the fuck is that?
Classic.
Oh man, too bad we already have titles for these. Bryant Reeves, who the fuck is that? Good title.
You're more like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, not Kareem.
Bruh.
Yeah, I said Kareem.
Who Sean, when you were
What?
playing, who told you played like Kareem? Your dad?
That's Avila.
Oh,
That's Avila from Indiana
the
State.
lovely, the old basketball coach.
It
Oh,
was-
they were like you played because you had a hook shot or something.
That was
Well, it was made.
It would have
Well,
been a good March Madness
a
story.
big reason is because I wore the sports goggles.
I was about to ask you that. That's why.
Because the segue into my number 2 was Horace Grant.
Oh, Grant.
That was the other one I was
Sean
talking
liked
about.
all
Who?
optically challenged basketball.
Optically challenged.
But yeah,
He was on the Bulls and the Magic.
exactly.
So that's
With somebody that's probably number 1.
Yeah, that was on
Robbie Avila. Cream
the
Avila.
Magic and then the Lakers. Yeah, of course it's got to be Shaq.
Jack Deasy.
And as I'm sitting here spouting off this list, I completely forgot to mention Robert Ory. Put him somewhere in there. All
Big
right,
shot,
That's
Bob.
game-winning shot guy right there.
Big shot,
Clutch.
Bob.
Big shot, Rob.
Big shot Rob.
Clutch Robert Ory.
Bob.
Big shot Bob.
Bob Ory.
Bob Hitchens, Bob Whitman.
He can shoot a good J.
Ory.
Bob Ory.
You can check it. That's definitely the receiver from Replacements, huh?
Orlando Jones.
Sean, I like your list a lot.
What, that guy?
Yeah.
That's the guy that played Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh.
Chris Rock's show.
No.
That's,
Nobody's gonna know.
that's not Orlando Jones.
Orlando Jones doesn't do anything.
By the way, we're learning that they think they all look alike.
I know how I feel.
What do you
Patrick Seibel, by the way.
Who do you mean by they?
By
What do you mean you
actors?
You mean Zupi?
All
Are you
actors
just-
look the same.
By the way Sean
What is
said
that,
that, he
DJ
was just
Qualls?
saying Olivier twins here. Like,
Is that DJ Qualls?
DJ Qualls is going to be a new Freddy Krueger in a Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger show.
Oh,
It's
Jesus.
about right.
Produced by Rob Zombie.
Oh, great.
That about sums it up.
Y'all do know we're recording a top 5 like basketball podcast, right?
Yeah,
Right.
so that's just distracting.
Very distracting.
Just so you know.
Well, Patrick, would you like to go next since you said you had
You have like a bunch of
players?
honorable mentions, so we're gonna let you go.
Okay.
You want to save you for last?
Since we're just mentioning random shit, it's Mario Day. But anyway, moving on.
Viv, how about you take us next
I'll
since you're,
take it.
since you're our special guest?
Special.
Well,
Yeah, special.
I mean, he's
All right, I got 3 honorable mentions. One is a
Yes.
fictitious character.
I think he's kind of become the fifth horseman.
topic for another day.
Topic for another day. He doesn't like it because I don't like pizza rolls. So. All right, my first honorable mention is what's his nickname? Dennis Rodman. I forgot his nickname.
The Worm.
The
Worm. Yeah, there you go. Dennis Rodman, rebounder extraordinaire.
He's not a fictional character.
No, one of them is. I haven't gotten to the fictional character. Dennis Rodman doesn't exist, okay? He's a fictitious character. The second should be on like top 5, but Magic Johnson. He was just great, and he figured out how to beat AIDS.
AIDS is a common theme on
He's
AIDS.
officially beaten AIDS. Like,
AIDS
With
is a,
huge amounts of cash.
AIDS is a common theme among the Waste to Eggs podcast.
It's actually not. It's literally 2 references.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, Magic Johnson, and whatever Ty said earlier in the show that Sean said AIDS.
And my other
AIDS.
honorable mention is the great Andre 3000 Coffee Black.
That's a fictional character.
That's a fictitious character. Because he would score buckets for the
But
Spurs.
that's like,
Hey, he invented the alley-oop.
but that's,
Yeah.
but that's like picking Shaq's character from Blue Chips.
Alright, well, I didn't
That's like picking Shaq Fu as a top video game.
And my top 5 is not that special because they're pretty standard to me, so I'll just go quickly. Number 5 is LeBron. I like LeBron.
Oh,
I know. I like LeBron.
something tells me Patrick might have him as an honorable mention on here.
The GOAT.
I mean, he's not the GOAT.
He's at
That's why he's
16.
number 5. But I mean, like, he's, you know. Number 4 is Dr. J, Julius Erving.
Nice.
Another old legend. Number
I
3,
never remember her name.
Dennis Scott.
Larry Bird. I love Larry Bird. I grew up idolizing him. My dad was a big Celtics guy.
They're calling Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, aka Robbie Avila, the next Larry Bird, because he came from Indiana State.
Maybe.
Might happen.
What?
It's a whole story we're playing offline.
Number 2, Sean's number 1, Shaq. Shaq Fu. He was the man. He was the man in the 90s. And like
it is hard. It's like hard to
he was the
dislike.
most dominant center. Like I'm sorry.
Like even well after retirement, with all of his endorsements and then watching him on TNT, It's so hard to dislike the guy. And he said he's appearing in a lot of the Adam Sandler movies. Yeah, he was in Blended.
Right.
You know, he said-
No, I like him, and like he does a lot of good for like. I've seen a lot of his philanthropic stuff, like philanthropic, whatever. Like, just he does stuff for the community, and just I don't know. And so my number one
He
is
makes really big pizzas. A lot of
yeah,
pepperoni.
Shaq.
Chaperone.
Number one is Michael Jordan. That's
See, I felt bad
to
about
me.
putting
That's a
him number
given.
one. He's not my number one, but
Well, I didn't put the
admire.
whole '96 Bulls, but
95, 96.
This one's listed on the Michael Jordan.
But
you
after
put
watching
Scottie
the
Pippen
Jordan
there,
documentary,
Ron Harper, Luke
I can
Walton.
see that he was a giant motivator. And he
So
was.
is Horace Grant
Don't
counted in
forget
that?
Bill
or-
Wellington.
Is Horace Grant counted in
Wait,
that one?
is
Or
Steve
are you
Kerr
adding
in that?
separate Horace Grant for his Magic days?
Yes. and Forrest Grant. Forrest Grant.
Forrest
standalone.
Grant NBA Jam or
He was
Forrest
in the top 5 twice.
Forrest Grant now or 94?
now or
Now.
Orlando Magic?
That's a loud fridge.
That's a loud word.
We should take it later.
It's a loud fridge.
Alright. Should I-
Ty, go on.
I didn't include Lou Alcindor. Oh wait, I did. That's Bring On Lou's father. How about his role in the airplane?
I thought you were talking about Cinder from Killer Instinct for a second. Alright.
What?
Cinder?
Cinder, the fire dude from Killer. No, okay.
Yeah. Glacius. The ice guy.
Alright, I got 5 honorable mentions here.
God damn.
Alright, I'm gonna try to run through these honorable mentions quick.
None of
First,
them are Lou Alcindor.
we mentioned my shitty DHK Toronto Raptors jersey of Mighty Mouse. Damon Stoudemire, he's my first honorable mention. Very, very appealing little short fella that played for the Toronto Raptors with their cool jerseys.
He actually had a tattoo of Mighty Mouse.
Yes, he did. So he's my first honorable mention. My second honorable mention was Sean's number 5.
Yeah, Sean.
The Rain Man, Sean Kemp.
There you go.
Very, very big fan of him as a kid. Again, I think the green Sonics jerseys, not the green and yellow ones, but the green and orange Sonics jerseys are really cool. I don't have that jersey of Sean Kemp yet, but I should probably get it. Number 5, my third honorable mention,
Try
for Generals, Steve Nash.
Ooh.
How many MVPs did he win? Was it 1 or 2?
I think he's got 2.
Master for the Mavericks. I have his Suns jersey because I like the purple and orange newer Suns
We've
jerseys.
kind of already given the shout out to the Suns and how many
Another-
good jerseys they've had over the years.
Another
I
player.
always like
that,
the Suns jersey.
They have great jerseys, but I mean, the little Canadian dude with long hair.
Another
looks
player
really
that the
appealing to
Suns
me.
franchise, squandered.
Canadian with a split mouth.
Flapping hands.
Canada wants more money. Steve Nash was the man.
Such is tradition.
Fourth honorable mention, Eddie Jones. You all remember old Eddie Jones? He was the original
Oh, yeah.
number 6 for the Miami Heat. Or some other clown took it.
So you put the Lakers.
He played for the Lakers first, and that's when I
Oh.
became an Eddie Jones fan. Was I originally had his jersey number 25 for the Lakers, then he went to Miami. He had number 6.
I don't know who that is.
I vaguely.
He was good.
The
remember
shoe
his
guard.
face.
When did he
was
play?
making mainly
What
played
years?
He was no Nick Van Exel.
Well, late 90s, early 2000s.
late 90s, early 2000s. Started with the Lakers. Had
Excellent.
probably the longest tenure of his career with the Heat. He was on the
It was like- he was kind of like a-
Hornets for a few years too.
He was kind of like a secondary
Yeah,
guy
shooting
for the
guard.
Lakers, and then when he became one of the superstars for the Heat at that time.
Was he a shooting?
Again, before I should have said this
Shooting
before I even
guard,
started
small
naming
forward.
any of my honorable mentions. My list is very, very obscure.
You don't.
Mine will
Like Sean Kemp.
mine will be pretty. Mine's
Well, he's probably the only one on this list that's not. So we got Damon Stoudemire, Sean Kemp, Steve Nash, Eddie Jones. My last honorable mention.
Steve Nash is an obscure.
Yeah, Steve Nash is an obscure.
Yeah, that's not obscure either.
This one's
Next.
definitely. This
Michael
next one
Jordan.
is my last honorable mention is definitely obscure.
Detlef Schrempf.
Growing up, I was a big. Shut the fuck up.
Rest in peace.
I was a big Kansas and Duke basketball fan growing up.
Country.
Roy Nelson.
Fuck this.
Oh wait,
My last honorable mention is one of the best point guards to ever come out of Kansas, and that is Captain Kirk Heinrich.
surprised he's not in the top 5.
I have his Bulls jersey, a white Bulls jersey, and I got a little
C I wanted for Captain Kirk. Yeah, he's my last honorable mention.
He was white too.
It was.
Why does it have to be a white Bulls jersey?
Matches skin color.
It's,
Just
five.
wait, Tyler. Just wait.
Just going into my top five now. Well, fifth, this man just recently passed away. I have his. He originally became a fan of his. Shut the fuck up! I think it's my turn to get interrupted today, right?
I'm sorry, it's my fault. I'll stop.
Alright, number five. I originally became a fan of this man from the Super Nintendo game Bulls vs. Blazers.
Clyde?
Clyde the Glide?
No, it wasn't Clyde Drexler. He was on the Blazers. It is Uncle Cliffy, Cliff Robinson.
I have no idea who that
What the fuck? How do you not know who Cliff Robinson is?
is. I
Cliff
easily,
was-
I don't-
Cliff was
I
Cliff was the center on that dominant Blazers
I
team.
mean,
Okay.
dude had a really long NBA career.
That's why I said when I was younger, I was so bandwagon.
He recently died.
Yeah, he
died
died
like in
2
the
years
last
ago,
couple
right?
of years. Yeah, and
I
he was known for the bald head with the headband.
Yeah,
Really tall guy.
He had a headband. I think that's what drew me to him on Bulls vs. Blazers. He had the headband.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Dude, he's
Oh, now I know who he is.
yeah, so, sorry.
You didn't know who he was?
I remember the name, yeah.
I didn't know.
Number four, Duke basketball player. One of my favorite, probably my favorite ESPN 30 for 30.
Uh-oh.
Patrick Stinkin.
I know who it is.
If it's your 30 for 30, I think I know who it is.
I Hate Christian Laettner was my favorite ESPN 30 for 30 documentary. Christian Laettner is my fourth favorite NBA
By far the
player of
best
all
player on
time.
that dream team.
I mean, aside from playing from Duke, I love the fact that he actually made the dream team as a college player. I thought that was cool. Obviously, on that team, he didn't stand out. I guess he stood out like a sore thumb because he's probably the worst player on it.
Not because of his skin color.
Had an average.
Larry Bird was on the
For
team.
being as good of a college player as he
Sorry.
was, had a very, very average pro career. Lasted a long time, though. Christian Laettner is my number four. Three. This is the third guy. Actually, I'm looking at this. Is the second guy I have that played for the Timberwolves, and it's Ricky Rubio from Spain. La Pistola. Very, very Pete Maravich-esque.
We didn't say
dude was
Pete
an- Dude was an assist leader.
Not yet.
He retired after the season,
He
right?
just retired
He
this
just
year.
retired. Ray started his career, played a long time for the Timberwolves, and he kind of became a journeyman. The dude probably racked up on a ton of European bus.
He played a good bit of years with the Cleveland Cavs, and that's who he
Racked up on the top.
that's who he ended up retiring with was the Cavs. He played a lot of
He
years.
played
with
on
them.
Spain's national team. Ricky Rubio, number three. Number two, I've mentioned him before on a podcast. Again, I was as a kid, I was a Hornets and Timberwolves fan. When we mentioned the best jerseys, we had the top 5 jersey podcast. I said I really loved those black Timberwolves jerseys with the head kind of with the trim head, like the green triangles on it, which I think was supposed to be trees. And I tried to order that jersey, and they ended up sending me a fucking blue jersey instead. But it was Wally Zerbiak.
Bastards.
He had a good career for the Timberwolves. After he left the Timberwolves, he kind of fizzled out and didn't really amount to anything. But he's a good commentator now. Wally Zerbiak is my second favorite player of all time. And my number one, my first basketball jersey ever. I think it was my second favorite jersey I listed on my top 5 jersey list. And the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets, that whole
Oh, yeah.
90s Charlotte Hornets team.
Yeah.
If we were to do a top 5 in no particular order on just set teams, that might be my number one. With Larry Johnson, Muggsy Bogues, Lonzo Mourning, Del Curry, that was a solid team.
I remember Morning. What?
You remember his Mourning? Larry Johnson's my number one.
I'm sorry.
LJ,
I
man.
can't remember.
LJ, the Grandmama. I mean, how iconic were the Converse Grandmama commercials?
Muggsy Bogues.
Juan
He's right
Howard
there, look at the
commercials.
bottom.
Ding.
That's
Number
not-
one, Larry Johnson, Grandmama, LJ, I had his Converse shoes. I had his poster hanging on my wall. His jersey was the first jersey I ever bought.
He's not on there.
Yeah, it was on there.
Dude had
Next to Chris Mullen.
Dude had a pretty excellent physique. I wish his career would have lasted longer. He had back injuries, but Larry Johnson, number one.
That's Chris
I
Mullen.
always liked the streak in the middle of his hair.
You right there. Look.
Yeah.
I see him.
Todd, can I ask you a quick question? What was your reason for Zerbiak at number 2?
I was a fan of Zerbiak. I remember watching a special on him when he came out of Miami of Ohio.
Mhm.
And I just followed his career.
Okay.
After that.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything specific about it.
And it was something was released where he and I think he and Garnett, were the two faces of the Timberwolves for a long period of
Mhm.
time. And I actually think they didn't really get along.
They didn't like each other.
But they managed to make it kind of coexist for a while and both played well together. But apparently, personality wise, they didn't really like each other.
Yeah.
Old Wally World.
All right, I'll go ahead and go next. I actually added another honorable mention since we started talking, and I got to thinking. So I got 4. I don't have a ridiculous amount like I normally do. My 4th honorable mention is going to go back to Space Jam days. There's actually another guy in Space Jam on my list too, but this is probably the guy y'all are least expecting from Space Jam, and that's the 7'6" now paralyzed Sean Bradley.
Now paralyzed.
He's paralyzed.
He's paralyzed. Yeah, he was in a biking accident. He got hit on by a car while he was riding his bike. So 7'6".
Bicycle?
Yeah. Well, he was on a bike.
It's a bicycle.
So he 7'6", great story coming in. Kind of always never really lived up to the hype of what people expected him to be because of his height, but kind of a long-time staple of the 76ers and Mavericks. I enjoyed seeing him in Space Jam. Sean Bradley's going to come in at my 4th honorable mention. My number 3 honorable mention is going to be none other than AK-47 Andrei Kirilenko. I've got some obscure guys on this list too, but he was a guy I always kind of latched on to. I don't know if it was the tie to New Orleans, where I know a lot of people usually hate franchises when they leave that certain area, but for some reason I was always drawn to the Jazz, not because of Karl Malone. Patrick, I promise you, he's not on my list.
Thank you.
But there was something that always wanted that Jazz team to beat the Bulls when they were, when they played the Bulls 2 times in a row back in the finals. I always wanted to see the Jazz win.
Yeah.
And then I know Kirilenko wasn't part of that team, but he was kind of part of that new regime past the Malone and Stockton days that tried to, create that winning environment. And he had a cool-ass nickname, AK-47. Very clever of him to pick 47 for his number. Second honorable mention, I'm going to go with Mike Conley, the stud from Ohio State. He's currently on the Minnesota Timberwolves, I believe. Long-time Memphis Grizzly. He was, for a while in the modern age of basketball, the Memphis Grizzlies were a team I followed strictly because of him. And when they traded him, I kind of stopped following them, and he's kind of on the washed up side on the Timberwolves, but I still appreciate him for everything he did at Ohio State, and he kind of made me a fan of the Memphis Grizzlies. So he'll come in at my second honorable mention. My last honorable mention is actually going to be a guy whose jersey was kind of remade relevant again on the Celtics because of Jaylen Brown. This is D. Brown from back in the 90s, point guard on the Boston Celtics. Wore number 7. Jaylen Brown wears number 7 now for the Celtics. Don't have anything against Jaylen Brown, but I like D. Brown a hell of a lot more. He was a little point guard who can dunk.
So let's say he was known for being a great dunker.
Yeah, do like no-look dunks.
Point guard who won the dunk contest one year. He was just fun to watch. Again, had a couple of really good years, but then kind of fizzled out, so he never really made it as good as people thought he was. So I'm going to jump into my top 5. Number 5, this player was more known as a defensive player and a rebounder. He was also known for having some pretty muscular arms back in the day. But what he was most known for was his haircuts. He used to get stuff etched into his head. He was part of that pesky New York Knicks team that would give the Bulls fits back in the days. And he's not. He was probably like when you go down that starting roster, he might have been the 5th best player on the team because he was behind Starks and Ewing and Oakley. But the guy I'm talking about is Anthony Mason. He was more of the defensive player and rebounder on the team.
Did you ever re-get that jersey?
I did. I have that one in my closet right now. Again, the thing that drew me to him was he was the first guy who I ever saw get stuff etched into his head as far as hairstyles. He would have the Knicks logo cut into his hair. He would have his number cut into his hair. Like I just thought that was really cool. So Anthony Mason's going to come in at number 5.
You like Dennis Rodman's hairstyles?
Kind of like that, yeah. I mean, Rodman was cool with the hairstyles too. I think Rodman's
Not as cool.
I grew to appreciate Rodman more as an adult than when I was younger.
Yeah, when I was younger, well, probably because my parents were they hated him. So like I was just like, oh.
I mean,
guess
I
hate
never, I think that whole, Sean mentioned the Bulls coming in, the whole Bulls team coming in at number 4. Really, I grew to appreciate them more as an adult. Like I got kind of tired of seeing them win when I was younger.
True.
But then, like now, you understand the greatness that was behind that.
Yeah.
So, good segue into number 4, because he played for the Bulls. I think Sean had him as either his number 2 or 3, but I'm going to go with Goggles himself,
There you go.
Horace Grant.
Oh,
Grant.
Grant.
So much like Todd mentioned Cliff Robinson and ordering a DHgate jersey from Cliff Robinson, I ordered one for Horace Grant. It was one that you had to customize, and the quality of customized basketball jerseys are not that good. Like they'll come in with like almost like plastic, or like Todd said, with a Stoudemire felt glued on the jersey. So I ended up losing that one in the house fire a couple of years ago and never replacing it because it ended up looking like shit. But Horace Grant was fun to watch. He had different color goggles that he played with, whether from the Bulls to the Magic. So he comes in at number 4 for me. Number 3 is going to be, the next 2 are definitely not obscure, my number 1 and number 2, but number 3 is a very obscure pick. Y'all see him hanging on the wall right there wearing the 23 Stanford jersey. He did not have a long NBA career. He played here with the Hornets back when they were the Hornets. I started following him at Stanford. He was this white guy that had the frosted tips on his hair. I thought that was unique. The guy could drain threes all over the place. I was ecstatic when we traded for him for the Hornets. He ended up spending a half a season here before he got traded somewhere else. And he is actually a guy who he's an analyst now, I think through Fox Sports. But he's another guy that'll comment on anything you send to his way on Twitter. That's Casey Jacobson. He was one of my favorite college basketball players. Unfortunately, didn't have a long pro career, but he'll come in at my number 3. Number 2,
He qualifies.
he qualifies, yeah, and didn't have a long career, but they played. And it's funny because I actually tweeted a picture of myself wearing his jersey in Disney World, and he made kind of a funny comment on it after saying I didn't think any of those were still out in circulation, So I thought that was pretty funny. But 2 and 1 are no longer going to venture into obscurity. I mean, these were 2 staples of the 90s. Number 2, you get the classic meme of him holding his throat, saying you're going to choke. And he had the ongoing beef with Spike Lee. It's going to be Reggie Miller of the Indiana Pacers. I mean, we talk about guys who could drain threes from any part of the court. That was Reggie Miller. I mean, he was always a fun player to watch. If you needed a clutch shot, he was usually a guy hitting it. So Reggie's going to come in at number 2 for me. Actually, the funny thing is, too, whenever I wear my Reggie Miller jersey places, somebody comments on it. Somebody says, oh, I love Reggie Miller. He's an awesome player. Anyway, or I love your jersey. Number 1 is, going back to Space Jam, favorite player of all time. The guy still cracks me up to this day with some of the idiotic comments he makes, but a lot of them are on point. And that's just Charles Barkley. Charles, we talked about the Phoenix Suns jerseys. I still have his. Those Phoenix jerseys just from the 90s were awesome. They have a couple of them awesome now. Todd has a Steve Nash jersey for the Suns. The Phoenix Suns have just had good jerseys all the way through. But I love the way Charles could rebound, play defense, and score points. He was just kind of a rare NBA player, and he was never known to keep his mouth shut. But he was always fun to watch. Charles Barkley comes in at my number 1.
Turtle.
Solid.
They've had the NBA Jam SNES version that had Charles Barkley on it before in the later copies.
He
Nice.
doesn't like to put his name on anything.
But
I
was
had the
it
OG
Clifford
one.
Robinson Bulls first place of the game? I don't think he was. Unless he was on the 76.
We used to play the crap out of that game. We did.
How about the arcade NBA Jam with Shaq and Scott Skiles on it? Shaq was not on the
that was hot.
SNES version.
No, I know.
They quickly learned from
Underrated point guard.
they quickly learned from Jordan that they could like save their likeness
all-
and
all
use it for
before
their own
his time.
things. That's why they all the big names backed out of NBA Jam.
Dark Pat, what you got?
All right. I don't have 10 honorable mentions.
I have 8.
Just close enough.
10 honorable mentions or 10 total.
First honorable mention, Ray Allen.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shooters to watch shoot. Didn't love some of the teams he played on or for, but I just remember.
You got
You know,
LeBron,
it's
right?
funny. It's funny that you
I was
mentioned
gonna
that
say the same
because
thing. I was
two-
thinking
two-
the same shot.
two things on that. Jawan Howard was a guy I thought about mentioning, but I liked him on the
Sold a
Bullets,
lot of sandwiches.
but then I couldn't stand the way his career ended, where he was ring chasing on the Heat, so I left him off.
True.
When Todd and I went to Milwaukee this summer, though, we had an Uber driver who was absolutely furious that Giannis wore number 34
Mhm.
because he said that number should be in the rafters because of Ray Allen.
I don't disagree with that per se, but I don't care enough to want to have that debate.
Wait, in
But
Milwaukee?
yeah,
When we were in Milwaukee, one of our Uber drivers went on this Milwaukee Bucks rant, and he was like, "Oh, Ray Allen's my favorite player of all time," and he's like, "I really think it's disrespectful that Giannis has even claimed his number." I thought he said that thing should be hanging in our rafters.
because his I liked him on the Heat because I followed the Heat not because of that big three, but because of one of the podcasts that I listen to is based out of Miami. So I tend to take all of their Miami teams with some level of interest, more specifically the Panthers, which is why I recommended them to Mike. That episode we talked about finding him a team. But so Ray Allen's first one of my honorable mentions. Also, Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
super fun to watch.
Yeah.
Had
Which time?
Practice.
great game. He had one of my favorite memories of watching basketball. Stepping over, what's the coach? Ty Lue.
Ty Lue.
After the shot, he just stepped over. I thought that was so disrespectful. I was like, damn, that's cold blooded. That's one thing I will never forget. Like talking about like sports was that moment. It's like, damn, that's pretty fucked up. But it
When
was
it comes up, Ty Lue goes, look at this ring on my finger.
yeah, cold blooded. My second to last honorable mentions are kind of a two-parter because they're both short guys, and that gave me hope, or maybe gave me the false hope that I could maybe play basketball because I was short. And that's Spud Webb and Muggsy Bogues.
There you go.
I love Spud Webb.
I love Mosey.
I like Muggsy too.
Spud was 5'4" and could dunk, and I was like, man, if he could do it, if he can do it, I could probably, maybe I could play basketball too.
Right.
You also have to have like talent to go with that as well, and I didn't have that.
No one that a 5'4" guy won the dunk contest makes me feel extremely unathletic.
Sure, yeah, right.
Right. It's like I got 6 inches on him. I can't touch the rim.
And I think Muggsy Bogues was 5'3".
5'3", yeah.
That he didn't do anything like super special, but he was just a really good player.
Oh yeah.
And I
He
think
can dribble like a motherfucker.
for me, I think the fact that he was in that Hornets jersey got him a little extra juice because I like the Hornets because of the color
Speaking of
scheme.
Space Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And Larry Johnson.
And my last honorable mention is the big ticket, KG.
The big titty.
Ticket,
Oh, okay.
Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
I love the tenacity. I love how angry he gets and how psychotic he is as a player.
You can always charge it up.
You need a charger. I got a charger right here for you. So you got some
Plug it in.
Get some
Yeah.
Juice.
get you some juice for your juice later. Anyway, I don't.
Okay, Phil.
Yeah,
Juice.
Kevin Garnett's last honorable mention. Liked him as a player. Liked his game. He made wearing like the sweatband at around your elbow kind of cool. I think before everybody else, maybe except myself, maybe Kobe. I don't know.
Oh.
So top 5. My number 5 is Steve Nash.
Okay.
There we go. The war general.
I like point guards. They're usually smaller players, so I tend to gravitate to them. He was a great passer. The years he was there with Shaq, he's got the stringy
Long
wet
hair
hair.
is definitely
Yeah.
appeal.
But I just liked him as a player. He was just a good player, fun. He again 2-time MVP. Maybe controversy about him winning one of them. Maybe he shouldn't have got it, but whatever. He's got it. I'm for it. My number 4 is Tracy McGrady.
Yeah.
T-Mac.
I like T-Mac.
Official, one of the best bucket getters and a pure scorer. Could shoot the 3, could drive to the hole, could shoot the mid range.
I thought it was kind of weird with him because like the Raptors were obviously like underutilizing him because then he goes in the to the Magic and just becomes like a superstar. Like he becomes like one of the best players in the league after he left the Raptors.
Great on the
Sure.
Rockets too. Huh?
That's
Great
because
on Rockets is where I remember.
that's because he was being overshadowed by Percy Miller on the Raptors.
Who? Yes. But he's got time with the Magic, the Rockets.
He
You
was
had
probably on the Raptors at the same time as Stoudemire and Canby, huh?
right around, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember him from the Magic years and just how good of a player he was for them. It was just
I remember it was
He was
played
with the
like 20
Magic.
years,
He was with the Magic before the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He played for like 20
That's
years.
where he really
something like that. Yeah, I think he was. The only problem with him was he was hurt a lot. But okay. My number 3 is a player who, in the modern game, he is just for me. He's probably the most fun and exciting player to watch, and it's Steph Curry. Because every time I see him play, not only can he finish at the rim, because like you wouldn't think that he can do that, but he scores a lot of layups and like will have some like trick shots as he's trying to get up into the rim against bigger guys.
Best pure shooter.
Sure, but for me,
Future Hall of Famer.
I mean, he's gonna probably
He's probably the best
he's
pure
gonna probably
shooter.
retire with the best 3-point percentage ever, if I had to guess.
probably so. But
Yeah.
it's just almost every night you watch a game like he makes some shot that's like, oh, there's no way, like within like he's got 2 millimeters of space and he just drains it 3. Like he has always just entertained me.
Yeah.
So I like that because I turn this game, I'm always going to care. Whether his team wins or not, I don't really care.
He's no Del Curry, but
You're right. He's better.
That was like a fourth or fifth option on that team I mentioned.
he came out of Del Curry's nuts.
Right. My number 2 is the GOAT. And if anybody disagrees with who the GOAT is, I'll fight you.
John Stockton.
I thought you were going to say Karl Malone to make the joke, but Ty, you can go fuck yourself. Because number 2 is Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the greatest. That's why he's my number 1.
But if he's the GOAT, he's not number 2. He's number 1.
There's a reason my favorite player is number 1
Ooh, okay.
because
See, as you can look at my list, I was never the fan of the best players. They were just my favorite players.
Yeah.
But see, that to me, that's the thing that always kind of got. I mean, again,
Yeah,
y'all,
'cause you'd always
y'all
have
have y'all's
douchebags.
reasons for liking Michael Jordan, and that's fine. But like,
And I have no problem with MJ. I love
like
MJ.
for example, the baseball coach at WestJeff, I remember
When he's
I
also
posted.
small.
Remember during
I'm good
if y'all remember during COVID, Facebook used to put out those little top 5 things, and it was just something to do to keep people occupied while they were home doing nothing else. And one of them was top 5 football players, and I put mine up there, and he was like rating it. He was like, he's oh, you got to be kidding me! Like, it's like you don't have this guy on this. It's like it doesn't say top 5 best players. It says top 5 favorite players.
Yep.
So I got my own reasons for picking them. So anyway,
so the reason Jordan is my second favorite player is because that's when I really started to follow basketball, like probably his 4th something year in the league. And it just kind of like Steph Curry. I'd watch a game and I would just be in awe of what he could do.
Yeah.
The winning was cool and all that. I liked the Bulls, but didn't care for him. But I remember wearing like a leg sleeve because he wore a leg sleeve.
yeah.
But he was just turning on SportsCenter, highlights, every dunk, the slam dunk contest. He didn't shy away from anything. He would go up against bigger players and dunk on them and then give them a stank face.
Yeah.
And I fucking loved it. So
Yeah.
MJ was that's number 2. My number 1, the reason this player is number 1, because most people, especially in the city, maybe probably don't love him. But after MJ retired, I kind of lost, or maybe towards the end, I stopped watching basketball routinely. But when the Hornets got this player, I kind of started watching the game again. And I only like him because of this for the 6 years or 7 seasons that he was with us is Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Hate as a player,
As a person,
he's quite douchey. Like,
no
Chris.
likes him.
Chris, stop hitting people in the nuts. Like, shit's not cool. It makes you really, really unlikable. But when the Hornets got him, I kind of started to watch basketball again, and I wanted to go to
But
games.
yeah, I'll root for him and David West and that whole crew.
Yeah, and David West like that. They were, again, the color scheme helped, but he was probably the player in like the big signing that we got, or the big player we got, that got me into caring about basketball after the
Yeah.
end of the Jordan era and some of the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s players.
I have no complaints with that. You know, I think
In the Valley jersey.
I liked both Chris Paul and Tim Duncan when they were on Wake Forest. Wake Forest again.
Wow. First mention of Tim Duncan all night.
I know for real. He was another guy that really could have been an honorable mention for me as well.
Mention.
The big fundamental.
You mean Wally Zerbiak made somebody's top 5 and
Not
Duncan
Tim
did?
Duncan.
Tim Duncan was close for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Or Karl Malone.
But I mean, Chris Paul, I think got an unreasonable amount of heat when he left New Orleans. Like I think a lot of fans were hard on the guy when he was out just going to a team that offered him a bigger contract. He didn't leave the New Orleans arena, flicking off fans. A lot of people compare him to the way Anthony Davis left, and I don't think that's a fair comparison. Like Chris Paul didn't leave here flicking off the fans. Chris Paul took a bigger payday because in the game of sports, you never know when your career is going to be over, and you have to you have to go with whoever's offering you the most money. Anthony Davis walked out of our arena flicking off fans, saying, "Oh, it's my last day. Fuck y'all." Chris Paul never did that. I think Chris Paul got a raw deal when he left New Orleans. Some of the fans still hate him to this day, and I think the guy played his fucking ass off for us, and I'll always respect the guy.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I like him. Again, obviously I like him enough to put him in my top 5, but I don't really care for him as a player. Like he doesn't do anything for me either way. That's just what he did for me when I started picking up basketball again. I don't hate him for leaving. I understand like it happens.
Yeah.
And
I realize he's out there probably chasing now. He's at the tail end of his career. He's probably trying to get a ring, but I liked him on Phoenix. Again, I have just showed y'all the pop I have. He's got that Valley jersey on that I think is really cool that the Suns play with now. And I know he's on the Warriors now, but I've always liked Chris Paul.
I was joking about having 10 honorable mentions. Probably I would put Kevin Durant in there. I like that he's so tall, but he's such a good
The snake.
Pixie stick legs?
No, the snake because he went and joined a 73-9 team to win championships.
I also like.
Talking about him because he's so thin.
I also like that he has probably one of the best nicknames of all time. That he doesn't really love, but it's still. They call him the Slim Reaper.
Oh, okay.
I love it, but he doesn't really like that
I
name.
wonder sometimes how those bird legs don't snap.
Right.
I mean, he looks like Kyle from South Park when he got the height extension.
Yeah.
Testicles in his kneecaps.
He's also responsible for one of the funniest memes of "You the real MVP" when he was crying during his MVP speech for his mom.
The 9-22 New Orleans Privateer basketball team.
Yeah.
Coach West is like a really cool dude.
Imagine if this ever happened. It was like Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Serge Ibaka. It was like, imagine if all these guys were on the same team. They really were.
They were, yeah.
They completely squandered that. Jesus.
Come on. Well, in that case, that was a good top 5 for everybody basketball wise. I went ahead and poured everybody a shot, and this is a good one that kind of goes down really easy. We're gonna do some Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey. That's how we're gonna
Safe word
close.
is whiskey. Why are you saying it like that?
We have a ceremonial.
Why are you saying it weird?
So,
I'm not saying what.
who did we lose recently that we were doing our shot for? We talked about. Oh, the guy from Dragon Ball Z.
Creator of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
He has
Asian
the
guy.
proper pronunciation of his name.
I'll see this girl who's the best player for South Carolina. It's gonna probably may end up being suspended for the.
She's suspended. She's suspended for the first game.
First game.
Yeah.
So are both benches.
No, they rescinded that. They,
Literally the first game of both of these teams in the tournament is gonna be like 5 on the right.
no, they clarified the rule. They're not. Only the ones that were actually ejected for the fighting are suspended. So the benches are fine. The benches are gonna play.
Reese and the girl.
Yeah, they came back after and
Oh,
cleaned it up.
It wasn't Angel Reese though, was it?
No.
No.
It was some other girl.
It was Cardoza from South Carolina pushed Flau'jae Johnson from LSU,
Oh, okay.
and that's what got her
Yeah, big,
ejected.
Like 6'7" girl from South Carolina pushed her and like laid her out. Like kind of shoved her and she just fell on her ass because I mean it's just so big.
Yeah, so we lost this week Akira Toriyama, who's the creator of Dragon Ball Z. He passed away at the age of 68.
Never seen an episode.
I was gonna say, is there a difference between just Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z?
Well, Dragon Ball was the original, and it's all part of a series. So Dragon Ball was the original where like Goku started as a kid.
Mhm.
Dragon Ball Z was kind of next level, and it's kind of going to like different levels, like Dragon Ball Super and like GT and all that. I stopped watching after Dragon Ball Z, but very very entertaining cartoon. Kind of like the only anime I've ever watched. And if you really talk to true anime fans, they kind of consider Dragon Ball Z to not even be anime. But
Of course not.
Right,
because
'cause
it's too mainstream.
That's just probably dumbass teenagers. But I mean, watch TikTok. But anyway,
Travis works in a school.
I've made comments
See?
or jokes that Dragon Ball Z kind of got me through college. Like it was one of those things where when
we
you're
watch it at like midnight.
when you're studying late for a test and then you need a little break, you turn it on Adult Swim and there's Dragon Ball Z. It was freaking great.
I was in the AOL chat rooms at
They
night.
also have the hentai.
That's not what I was doing at 2 a.m. I was like,
Dragon Ball Z was
I was practicing load management.
Dragon Ball Z was fun as hell. to
King
watch,
Cake Hub.
Boy.
Oh, yeah, King Cake up.
It's local King Cake Hub.
That's what y'all were doing.
I just said I was in the AOL chat rooms.
Seeing who had the good deals on the Manny Randazzo.
No, I was throwing out ASL requests.
Double stuff.
Oh, hey, yo.
Oh, that's weird.
Sounds of King Cake.
Let's just get out of
Great
here.
shows.
It's like
Point of
so in honor of Takira Toriyama, we're taking this shot of Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
And
Very, very.
I think everybody in here has probably had this
You
before.
think he was a fan of peanut butter screwball whiskey?
I was a fan of
In
Dragon Ball
honor
Z,
of-
so
No, I
Some
think he was a
Asian
fan
guy.
of sake.
So fuck you guys hang out in the AOL chat rooms. I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z at midnight.
I got some Dragon Ball Z memorabilia.
Like, wait, why are you throwing shit at AOL chat room
People
people?
appreciated people that were trying to have fun.
Fuck y'all.
Trying to load manage. One ASL at a time.
Or Mario Day.
Look, man. R.I.P. My favorite Dragon Ball character was TN. Todd's was Piccolo.
Piccolo.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And
Cheers, Holmes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
If you don't have a favorite Dragon Ball Z character, you should probably watch it.
on that note,
Wagons
Wagons
out.
Wagons out.